History is a set of lies agreed upon. Napoleon Bonaparte. Good evening, everybody. Sorry I haven't been around in a while. Hey, that's weird. Wrong button. Here we go. It's just things busy with family. The weather here is all weird. Dog has been having health issues. So much I could talk about that, but don't want to go too much into it. First thing I guess to say is I'm still 2 strikes away from my main YouTube channel being I guess removed. Anyways, those I have a feeling it's gonna be hi Kathy B, how's it going? I have a feeling that my both my YouTube channels are going to be probably taken down. So I have my main YouTube channel, Bon Kim, that has I think they only limit to 997 videos, and they just delete the very long ago ones. Because I know it's been at 997 for a long time, and I've been making. I used to do a lot of videos, not as much anymore. My latest video I uploaded, since I can't live stream on my main YouTube channel, is the COVID-19 vaccine. It's not a vaccine, it's experimental mRNA gene therapy. And again, my main YouTube channel is monetized, and I usually try to live stream it. My backup channel, I do the opposite. It's not monetized. And that's where I'm live streaming right now, is my backup channel. So if I'm live streaming here, then I upload to my other YouTube account. Well, otherwise it's everything's pretty much the opposite. So I can figure out, hey, what is it that they're targeting? As for videos that they take down, what's interesting is this video is still up. I think all these videos on topic, understanding what NPCs are, as a Cappy reveals Hollywood pedophilia and more, as a Cappy, they're on topic where I talk about it. All of these videos are on my backup channel that I'm live streaming right now. So they didn't take these videos down on my backup channel. So it's either manually targeted, some type of algorithm that finds something and returns it, and someone manually has to check up on it and some weird stuff. Anyways, this one got taken down on my backup channel, so if you don't see it, that's the reason why. And so I am going to switch keywords. Yeah, probably. I'm switching my account, and I just don't want people to see any details about it if I don't. That's why I just switch real quick. I thought I might have to put down my password and stuff. Anyways, this is the one that I'm actually doing now. I got a violation. This is my first violation. It's just a warning. The COVID-19 vaccine is not a vaccine. It's experimental. This might be one of my first strikes or content that's removed from violation on my backup channel, because otherwise I would just have a strike. That's why I'm still able to live stream. Otherwise I wouldn't be live streaming. I would probably ended up just uploading on both videos, but still live streaming on my other platforms, and uploading on LBRY, LBRY. So it's just interesting to see what it is that they're doing, where they're taking down videos. I mean, you're gonna find stuff on my main channel you're not gonna find on my backup. You're gonna find stuff on my backup channel you don't find on my main channel. Now, what I was I've been doing a lot of research, and it just takes me to another thing. And a lot of this research, I just want to show people just how you can, I guess, go and research yourself, and kind of how my thought process was. And some of the videos that I'm going to have, I think I'm just going to make it and live stream it, or upload it, but it's not going to be live. It's there's a lot in the works, but the main one is that I was thinking of was just kind of the wisdom of George Carlin and Bill Hicks. And that led me to, I'm also looking at interviews, not just the stand-up routines. And one of the things that stood out when George Carlin was talking about Arthur Koestler and the triptych. And that you'll like. I think I'm going to do a dedicated video on Arthur Koestler's triptych. It'll be a short one. And that'll kind of tie into the video I'm going to do about George Carlin and Bill Hicks. And then I may have to do another video tying in the triptych of Arthur Koestler and just the triptych in art and architecture. So they're all going to somehow tie in together. I don't know how I'm going to plan that yet. And, it's not like I'm going to be doing it like this, which I prefer, but I think it's so heavy that if I don't really narrow it down, make it really simple, I think it would just be more confusing for people. Anyways, this is gonna kind of showcase a different triptych, which is the architectural triptych of Catholic cathedrals. One of the questions that I was thinking is like, I've always been fascinated with Gothic architecture. I think it's pretty cool. This just the visual aspect of it, even though I pretty much don't like anything about Catholicism or Rome, but it's like, what is it with some of this, like the themes of the Gothic architecture, and why aren't any Gothic architecture non-religious related? Like usually it's always just the Roman Catholic or something similar, some type of church. It's only within those buildings. Like why isn't there like just a KFC or McDonald's that just has like Gothic architecture? Just like, why didn't anyone just pick it up and go, hey, Roman Catholics aren't the only ones that can just have a patent on on Gothic architecture. So that was just something I always wondered, and so we'll get back to that. And those are some of the things that I start to search for because I'm asking questions like that. While I was looking for triptych, I found Richard Casaro. It's on Megalomythomania UK. Usually I don't really take anything what they say seriously, except for some of the evidence that they may find, and I'll look at it myself and I go, hey, that is interesting, right? What I noticed is I subscribed to him on my main channel. I don't know how many months or years ago, but I went to his site and I go, weird. But he's got a lot of weird videos that I'm like, I don't know. Anyways, I asked him a question earlier today on his website by just like the email form, submission form, just asking what his thoughts was with Patrick Keeley, and I get to Patrick Keeley in a bit. Kathy B. Clergy were the only ones allowed to read, right? I'm not sure about that, but hold on to that thought. All right, so Patrick Keeley, and we're going to go over him for a bit. Let's see, here it goes, the Wikipedia. All right, he's born in 1816, passed away 1896. He's an Irish-American architect based in Brooklyn, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. He was a prolific designer of nearly 600 churches and hundreds of other institutional buildings for the Roman Catholic Church, Roman Catholic patrons in the eastern United States and Canada, particularly in New York City, Boston, and Chicago in the later half of the 19th century. He designed every 19th century Catholic cathedral in New England. Several other church and institutional architects began their careers in his firm. He was born in Thurles, County Tipperary, then a part of the UK. Now, just doing more searches on him. It's just interesting. So basically, he started his first. So he came to U.S. in 1842. So he was about 32 years old, 26 years old. And then he helped design or build a church in 1846, and that's when he's about 30 years old. And from that point on, for the next 50 years, they're attributing like he designed 600 churches. Divide that by 50, you've got 12. That's 12 a year. That's one a month. So he's building or help design one Catholic church building or cathedral a month. And back then, I don't think they had. I mean, if you built a Roman cathedral these days, it would take longer than a month, and I'm pretty sure it took longer than a month back then. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, although different accounts of them says it may be closer to 200 buildings. But what's interesting here is nothing is recorded of his architectural design education. So basically, what they say is he ended up impressing some member of the clergy in the United States, and then they just kept on asking him to build and design more Catholic cathedrals and churches for them. So that's all he did for the next 50 years. I'll just go through more stuff later on, and what's curious is, so he finally goes to the U.S. and within 4 years he gets charged with help planning and building a Catholic church, and within 2 years, I think it was completed. And then people just kept asking him to build more for him. It's like, what did he build before? What in those 4 years? What was he building that impressed Reverend Sylvester Malone? Right? It's like, hey, you're a carpenter. I want you to build Roman Catholic Church. You don't need any prior experience. I don't know. Any of that stuff would be pretty interesting to find, but I couldn't find it no matter where, not even in newspaper articles, in Library of Congress archives. But it's hard to find a lot of these things digitally, so I'm just gonna keep going. Anyways, definitely watch Richard Costaro, his lectures on triptych temples and the God Self icon. In part 1, he definitely goes into triptych temples. You'll just notice that there's always going to be 3 doors or 3 windows. Sometimes one is bigger than the other two, but the same architecture ideas are all across different parts of the world. Way back in ancient civilization, where supposedly people were just like had stone axes or stone hammers, whatever, right? They're able to build all these great architectural feats, which almost they can't really seem to repeat a lot of these archaeological feats today. At least they never seem to try, and I think the reason they never seem to try is because, well, they probably can't, and so they don't want to get people to see, hey, what's with these ancient architecture in these buildings, and we can't repeat the same things. We can only build the same types of buildings apparently, and we can't recreate any of the great architectural feats of before. And why don't we ever build Gothic buildings and structures like for commercial buildings, right? You know, just something nice and beautiful and majestic. And you know, why does it always just have to be so bland? And why does it only have to be attributed to the Roman Catholic Church? He also, you know, looked into at least part 2 when he starts getting into the God Self icon. He still talks about the triptych, and a lot of the triptych representations architecturally is also seen on a lot of secret society types of societies. And if you don't want to watch, again, you can watch. I'm pretty sure you might be able to find it on his website, his YouTube channel, if this is his. But he has his own website. You can find some of his stuff on the Graham Hancock website. I haven't visited that stuff, but I just did a search and I got his result in here. It's a great read too. If you read, there's 4 of them. You know, the way that the web page is just Casaror 1, Casaror 2, Casaror 3, Casaror 4. There's no more after that. Basically, you can read all of them. But again, you get the triptych here. The Skull and Bones, the Shriners, the Freemasons, the Knights of Pythias. And you're going to see that a lot. You know, that's something to focus on. So I always just thought that was peculiar when I was just going through and just kind of looking through it. Everything I could find on triptych, architecture, Roman Catholic architecture, Gothic architecture, just as much as I can piece together, because I mean, does this have anything to do with Arthur Kirchner's triptych? And I'm reading through Arthur Kirchner's what was it called? The Act of Creation, which is, I think, at least over 800 pages long. So I just really want to focus on the triptych portion of it, and how it has to relate to Bill Hicks and George Carlin on that video, and then I'll just have to revisit it and piece it together with the triptych that's found through architecture, and you know, some of the other things that you might find with a lot of these symbols that are represented in a lot of the buildings. So you know, he did his work. I thought that was great, which I could also look and find on my own, as far as what photographs I could find. We may have to just do a whole segment on what he found, but it's almost like, why do that? And you could just watch and read his stuff on your own. So let's see. You know, there's a lot of he did a thing on, you know, what was the ancient Egyptians and Mayans, 10 unexplained parallels. You know, I kind of got into that when we were looking at the calendar, because there's the Mayan calendar and the Egyptian calendar, and the mythological story of 360 days ended up becoming 365 days because the 5 deities that were born. Incidentally, the Mayan mythology had the 5 deities being born as good, and what was that? Yeah, I think so. And the Egyptians as no. The Mayans were bad, and the Egyptians had it so that they were good. And the Mayans said, yeah, don't even go outside during those 5 days, which is incidentally kind of before Christmas until then. Anyways, there's just a lot of that that you're going to find everywhere when you look into a lot of these myths and stories, and dive into the architecture and anything else that you might want to find. You can just find just a lot of similarities and parallels where history says, no, that's impossible, that couldn't have happened. But you know, I think a lot of the history is going to change. They're going to be edited, adapted. I mean, it's not like you can find any books in libraries of just talking about going back. You know, it's always, you found some book that was written in the, say, 1990s now, 30 years ago. And then they'll talk and reference about a book that's like in the 1950s, and then that's gonna reference a book back in the 1920s, and that's gonna reference back about a book 1880s. It's gonna keep referencing back further back, or you might just go ahead and they're gonna give you the information. That's why they have references, bibliographies, and stuff like that. They'll reference all these things, and you'll go out and try to find that book. Now that's all digital. If it's been lucky enough that they've been digitally scanned, we don't know what happens to all the books. Are they in some warehouse? Are they just burned? What happened? So a lot of these, they can pretty much change history now any time when you have all the analog, like the written books, written accounts. A lot of stuff that's unpublished, just manuscripts that's left out around in universities or something, but a lot of stuff probably doesn't get published. So, there's a lot of, you could call it censorship back then during the paperback days. Now it's a lot worse, right? We pretty much have to store it somewhere. I mean, let's talk about having your own website. Just having your website's pretty easy, but having your domain name, if you die and no one updates it unless you've only had it up to reserve it for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, usually that you can't even reserve it for that. It's usually a maximum of 5 years to get a domain name, and then they could jack up the price at any time. You're not really making money off of your website. It's just usually it's like informational. So, someone could have had a website, very, very good, really well done, back in the HTML days in the 90s or something like that. The domain name just goes away, or that person passes away. No one takes care of his site and renews the domain name. There you go. It's all that information is gone. Or the computer goes down with the information. They didn't copy it or back it up or anything like that. So it's difficult to get information to be held and find searchable by others, because that information seems to go away. And it's gonna be a weird couple of years, decades. All right, so I lived in the East Coast in Boston, more like Somerville, but I was stationed in Great Lakes, Illinois for a time. Visited Chicago, remembered all the buildings. Even in Seattle, I think I remembered very Gothic type of buildings. Providence, Rhode Island really stuck out. Now, one of the things that you'll see that excuse me, Richard Cassano talks about is this is a good example. This is the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul in Providence, Rhode Island, which is interesting because the first cathedral that Patrick Keeley ever helped with was the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul, I think. But that was in Williamsburg, Virginia, I think. Or Williamsburg, New York. Sorry, not Virginia. I don't know why I said Virginia. Anyways, you'll see the triptych here, the 3 entryways usually, or windows, whatever. These, however, are the same distance and size. You've got the rose circle. Also, you could call it the rose cross, whatever. But it's usually circular. It's like the third eye type of thing. And then you've got the 2 twin towers. Pretty prime example of the architecture of Roman cathedrals. The twin towers usually aren't always up. Sometimes there's just one tower. Sometimes there's like a smaller tower. Significance of that, you can make up your own mind. Even on the inside, you can see the triptych here and the rose circle. I'm saying it wrong, whatever it is, but that same idea you can get. And then in Boston, this wasn't really a church, but I walked across or Boston a lot, so I was like, hey, South Station. So I looked at South Station and I realized they got the triptych here. This isn't a cathedral, but it felt like it, because when you're on the inside, you just got tall ceilings, and it's very. I was impressed by it, but I had this weird feeling of like there's something about the architecture of this building. So you got the triptych here, and you got the clock here, which can be kind of like the same third eye kind of idea here. Kind of representation of two towers right here, not quite. And usually there's something perched on top, like this one is an eagle. If it's a Catholic church, it's a cross. So what's the significance of having something up top that displays some type of symbol? There's a lot of cathedrals in Boston. Again, they say Patrick Keeley, sorry, did a lot of work. Basically all the cathedrals in New England, Boston, New York, and Chicago were done by him. So that's just I don't believe it, but that's what they say. Again, you're going to see the triptych quite a bit. You're going to see that big circle. And you're going to mostly see it on the outside. Sometimes I notice, like, I don't really see the circle being too prominent, but you got the triptych here, you got again that circle here, and you got the two towers, and you got the symbol at the top, right? It's just always the same. And what's interesting is when we get to a little bit more of the history of Gothic architecture, which will be pretty soon. They say, it didn't start till probably like the 11th or 12th century Gothic architecture. But all you have to do is look back and see that Gothic architecture existed a lot, lot further back, at least what they say, than the 11th and 12th century. And not just in one particular place, but you'll have some eerily similar designs across different countries and continents even. So anyways, there's a lot. If you just look through a lot of different buildings, if you go to like a historic section in any city, you're just gonna find that same idea just everywhere. And makes you wonder. It's like, why do they always have that triptych? Why do they always have some type of centerpiece there, and things like that? So Notre Dame Cathedral, yeah, again another great example of basically what's being mentioned. You got the triptych here, and you got that center circle and the two towers. Of course, this one doesn't have really a centerpiece sticking out too much, except I guess if you look somewhere else. I mean, it's what was it with that same concept, right? It's like they just don't let go of that. It's always there. If you probably ask someone within the Catholic Church, they go, oh, that's just representation of the Trinity, the three doors, and all of this, all the stuff that pretty much pertains to the Catholic religion. Here is the White House, and again you can see it has its own triptych. I can't really see any circular design except for on the other side, but yeah, it's maybe those stairs or some different representation, but lamps, whatever. But still, the triptych is still there. A lot of these times, like again, the towers may not be up there. Something a symbolized centerpiece at the top isn't going to be there. Sometimes that circle won't be there. It's just interesting how certain buildings with certain styles won't really have all the pieces together. But But here, there's Gothic architecture in Seattle. I remember University of Washington being very Gothic looking as far as a lot of the buildings, and I was always just wondering, like, why did they decide to do that? You know, I was impressed. I liked it though. Same thing with Chicago. Whenever I visited Chicago, usually I always went to Chicago to like watch a movie or something. So I'd walk through downtown, and of course, a lot of their buildings were very Gothic. You know, it's now that I look at it and I just realize, hey, there's that same like idea of the triptych across most of the buildings, right? Here's another good one. It's like, what is I never noticed it. Now you're gonna notice it just because you watch this, and you're just gonna be wondering, I don't get it. Why do they seem to have all that all the time? Here's another triptych. Why won't that load? Because that one had a good one. Can't find it. Yeah, you can see it over here. All right, so Gothic architecture, you know, or pointed architecture is an architectural style that was particularly popular in Europe in the late 12th to the 16th century, surviving into 17th to 18th century in some areas. Right, they say, if you look at the early Gothic, you know, it's still, you know, 11th century. And again, this is the wiki, but I like using the wiki because, you know, it's what the mainstream, you know, say, like historians that'll fact check or whatever it is, they'll just say, okay, put this here. They're not gonna put down something from like Richard Casano or something. Do they have anything with Keeley? No, they don't have anything with Keeley. Even though he's like considered to have been a contributor of the Gothic revival, even though the Gothic architecture didn't go away. Got to be rights to create one religion. I think that one religion has been created, or at least whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. So not creating one religion, they're finishing up one religion, just like one government. It's like, it's not like some new government is going to come up. It's the same government. It's not going to be like a whole new one religion. It's just going to be the same religion that they've always touted. Because that's who's in control. That's what's... Everyone's always thinking of some boogeyman, religion or government that's going to come up and take over everything. But that hasn't been the case. That hasn't been shown at all. And anytime some country seems to want to take over, look at like Napoleon or Hitler or whatever, it's like, guess who's stopping them? You know, it's always the same people. It's always the same religion that's always been in control. You know, like people would just say, you know, you gotta watch out. And the ones who are saying it, right? The religious people who are the ones who are saying that you know, that one religion, the people who are saying it are the ones who are believers of that one major religion throughout history. So I just find it funny. Romanesque architecture, you know, they say, hey, they got it from the Romans. Where the Romans get it from, but not quite. It's slightly different. You know, a lot of, well, the columns might be contributed. Some of the, you know, curved doorways, arches, you might say. And I didn't really look and see, I mean, see if there was a lot of the triptych occurring within it. You know, you might be able to see it here. But again, you know, is it consistent all the way through? you know, and why or why not. So, you know, you can look at more ancient Roman architecture and see if you could trace it back. I didn't want to go that far. There's, you know, the Cathedral of the Holy Cross and a whole bunch of stuff. Because you know, if you go walk around Boston, oh my goodness, you're gonna just see a lot of like out of the place buildings that are very Gothic looking. Now, more about Patrick Keeley. You know, just the sheer amount of things that they say he designed and, you know, came up with the Gothic revival. Let's look at one things I want to look at is like the oldest Catholic cathedrals in America and see what they look like. And I think one of the results was this America's oldest cathedral, new again, is the Baltimore Basilica. So I want to look at the Baltimore Basilica and see what they have. It wasn't very Gothic, but it had the same triptych. You could see it's hard to find some of the pictures because if you take the pictures right on, the columns are in the way of these other doors, and you can see the triptych here. Two doors on the side of one main one that's a lot taller. I don't know if it's probably a lot wider even. You got two towers here. Instead of having a central symbolic top, it's just the crosses. And I didn't really notice, well, there's a clock tower here, but from this angle, it's hard to see if there's anything. In the center, that's circle. No, it's not. Anyways, make of that with what you will. Now, you know, there's a lot of attributions of like, where could, like, who else was making Catholic cathedrals? One is Benjamin Henry Latrobe. You want to look some of his stuff. There's Augustus Pugin. I don't know how you say it. Pugin, yeah. And you know, he was like pioneering role in Gothic revival style of architecture. Yeah, that's what they're saying as far as like before Patrick Keeley started doing a lot of stuff. I guess he was saying, "Hey, look at what Augustine Pugin's work. He's doing a Gothic revival." And then there's more on Patrick Keeley you might be able to find. And I mean, this goes more into just a little bit more details you won't find in the wiki. This is the Dictionary of Architects of Canada, incidentally. You know, it talks about the St. Peter and Paul Roman Catholic Church in Brooklyn. You know, it's made in a year. That's pretty quick. This landmark was executed in the Gothic revival manner. You know, basically a style he would do for the next 50 years. So it talks about, you know, a lot of his other work. Now, what I wanted to search was, you know, list of cathedrals in Ireland. Now, if you look up Patrick Keeley, it says, at least in the wiki, let's go back if I could find it. You know, he was born in Thurles, County Tipperary. You know, you can see this a map right here in this green spot, and see County Tipperary, right? It's right here. So I wanted to find a, you know, how did he come up with the idea for Gothic design architecture, right? I mean, it's not like this is going to be anywhere from 1816 till about 1842, you know, within 30 years. It's not like during that time they really had photographs, I don't think, you know, not at least not very. You'd have to be pretty rich or wealthy. It's not like they could take a plane, you know, he could go over to like Europe and explore, you know, if he's, you know, maybe there's blueprints. That's about it. You know, I don't see him, you know, going around and in Europe and like learning all these different architectural ideas. Anyways, so I was looking at all these different the County Tipperary. Excuse me. I mean, this list of cathedrals in Ireland is what I was looking at, and anything that was within a specific time frame, before 1842. And there's a lot of them. I mean, he could have probably traveled at least within Ireland to see a lot of these different designs of different cathedrals. But one of them that stood out was Cashel, and the reason why was it was near. It's within County Tipperary. If we go to Rock of Cashel, right, it's within that county. It's just right smack, almost in the middle of it. The Rock of Cashel, also known as Cashel of Kings and St. Patrick's Rock, is a historic site located at Cashel, County Tipperary Ireland. Sorry, and it seems like pretty ruined, so I had to find a couple of more pictures. It was kind of hard to see. I could see this part, the triptych, and then that circular part. It's one part of a tower. Maybe there's another part of a tower. We don't know. I mean, it looks like the top got broken off, whatever symbol it had. Here, actually, we see a different part of it. I don't know if it's the same part, right? This is Rock of Cashel Cathedral, and you can easily see the triptych and that, and the towers, and again the idea of the highest centerpiece having some symbol. Here's a better picture of it. Now, there is a image of I think it's like if you're visiting, like if you're being a tourist, and it gives you actual history of it, and which I didn't really get too much in the wiki. It didn't seem to state this much stuff. So it goes, this rocky stronghold, which rises dramatically out of the Tipperary plain, was a symbol of royal and priestly power for more than a millennium. From the 4th or 5th century, it was the seat of the kings of Munster, whose kingdom extended much over much of southern Ireland. So, that's anywhere from the 300s and on. It's like, that's where, it was the seat of kings of Munster. So, could have been built a lot earlier than that. We don't know. In 1101, they handed the Cashel over to the church, and it flourished as a religious center until a siege by a Cromwellian army in 1647 culminated in the massacre of its 3,000 occupants. The cathedral, with its subject to ongoing renovation, was finally abandoned in the late 18th century. So the idea might be that they worked on the cathedral once it got handed over. At least that's the story. They say here's a cathedral at the start. They're talking about the roofless cathedral. Gothic cathedrals. Gothic, see, right? So obviously this couldn't have been made before the 3rd century, because they can't attribute Gothic architecture that far. But within that little change of history where they handed it to the church, but in the 1100s, yeah, they could say, well, the cathedral was created maybe in the 1100s. And that's when the cathedral was created. We'll really never know. We just have to take it on their word, which I don't take it very well. But right, you can just see that's what this is pretty much. That's the outside of it. There's the inside. Here's day tours you can take on it. And so I just found that interesting. So this is pretty much the best thing that you could say, because it's just right smack in County Tipperary, where Patrick Keeley was born in, right? So this could have been his influence of the design of the Roman cathedrals, of that Gothic revival back in Americas in 1942, when he started working on it in 1946, just 4 years after he landed in America. And what's interesting is there seems to be, two sides to it. and another portion of it, you've got the almost a triptych here. It could have been these kind of might have been broken off at some point. More arches, triptych arches, probably on every corner, on the four corners, because if you look at it, this is very similar to this. This has the triptych design. You can't see the other side, so you could pretty much state that it's almost like a four-sided cathedral that they could have, but at least the design of a cathedral. But maybe the other side is like a moat or something, and a big drawbridge. I don't know, but well, it's hard to know because it got destroyed. Isn't that fun? Interesting that every time we want to find some architecture that we can examine, and it's always partially destroyed. I did a search for oldest Catholic cathedrals. It's always funny how they always have all these other things. So I looked around. There's the oldest cathedrals in the world. They're all around circa 300, 500, 300, 300. If you're looking at a lot of the pictures on the outside, I'll bet you you're going to find a triptych. I bet you you're going to find like a center circle type of thing, and at the very top, of course, something symbolic being displayed. So I had to do a search for the oldest churches in the United States. What could I find that was very Gothic looking before Patrick Keeley and some of the other architects had, and do any of these show very similar designs and also possibly Gothic architecture. This Marble Collegiate Church looks pretty much like a very Gothic design, but this was in 1628. First Church in Boston has a very Gothic design, triptych again, 1630. So obviously way before Patrick Keeley, and like Dover, New Hampshire, this is congregational. Way before Patrick Keeley designed all those cathedrals in New England, that they had a very Gothic looking architecture in the 15th and 16th century in America, even the 17th century. List of Catholic cathedrals in the U.S., same thing, just looking through, maybe not there, different types of places, and just seeing, all over the place. There's, we'll go Alaska, here's Atlanta, very much the two towers theme, the triptych circle. They don't have the dates, which kind of sucks, but still the same thing. I don't quite see the triptych here in the front, but sometimes they won't have it on the side that they take pictures of, or at least show pictures of. Triptych here, two towers. I think I see two doors here, so there's probably one there. Oh, Diocese of Richmond, that's in Baltimore. Did we go over that one? Boston, of course, you're going to see that same thing. Triptych here, actually, circle, something else. It's always going to seem to have that triptych circle. The same thing. It's just repetitive at this point, which kind of sucks. 15 oldest Catholic churches in America. Some of these, they don't have that architectural idea. This might be considered a triptych, not quite. This one definitely. This is 1738 Cathedral of San Fernando. Looks very Gothic to me. It wasn't during the Gothic revival time period. This is San Diego, 1782. 1789 St. Louis Cathedral Basilica. Has somewhat, it's definitely pointy towers and stuff like that, but not quite. That may be a stretch. Ignatius Church. another one in San Francisco, California. It's hard to see, but you can see that there's the triptych here, circular. Maybe that could be circular. I'm not sure. 2 towers. Same theme. Would I say that's very Gothic? Close to it, not quite. I don't know. It's for me. It just seems like it's just a Gothic. It's like a feel. Hey, Party Pack. He's in Northern Ireland. I've seen a lot of Gothic like architecture almost everywhere I live. Definitely not in Nebraska. Maybe in Omaha. I think in Omaha there might be something I consider Gothic. That's very hard to miss. Let's see, Omaha Gothic architecture. And I wonder just how old some of these might be. But yeah, when of course I have to look for dates, but I may have to do that next time I'm in Omaha. I may have to just look around, just look at the history and see, hey, this is a very, very old building in Omaha that's very Gothic looking, and find the same ideas of the triptych and the rose circle and towers and stuff like that. I'd love to find something that's not Roman Catholic, but who knows if I find something like that. Here's the Cathedral of San Lorenzo, one of the searches. One of the basilicas. You see the triptych here again, the circle considered 2 towers, and of course at the highest point is going to be some symbol. I was looking at like underwater cities to see if they found anything that had the same idea, but these take it for a grain of salt. This actually looks like a real photo of just one of the older types of buildings, but it's hard to find anything architecturally sound. So those are things I was looking for. One of the things that I did find, but I think it was found in just not shown very much, probably in Richard Casaro's book. Yeah, he definitely talks about that. But one of the triptychs that I found, so I was looking through this, I found a video, and next thing you see is Tiwanaku, Bolivia, is there. I found like a triptych right here. You can't really find anything else. One thing I did find, I found the island of the moon, or Moon Island in Lake Titicaca, and they say that there's an underwater city. It's a very holy place or holy lake that they say over there, and I think it's in Peru. But here, it's like definitely triptych right there. You've got that little circular part over here, and this is like somewhere embedded within on an island, right? It's like, it's not like on the mainland. It's island. It's like, how do they build that through the island? It's like, is that recent? Was that old? Who knows? I just thought it interesting. So now you've got something in South America that follows the idea of the triptych, and look at the step arches. That this has to be recent, but maybe it's not. Of course, they'll probably say, yeah, it's recent. It's something that was like built in AD something. But I think these were all before the Common Era. Anyways, a lot of these searches, nothing quite what I was looking for. Library of Congress. I did newspapers. You could do a search for everything, all that, but couldn't really find much on Patrick Keeley as far as in the newspapers. There's some iffy stuff, I did some like on Patrick Keeley plus Catholic. I found one where it's like a man named Patrick Keeley arrested by Officer Tinkham, charged with having escaped from the penitentiary. I don't know if that's the same one, but it is in New York. This is 1854. Probably not the same. March 11th, 1872, New York Herald. It says Patrick Keeley, same versus Patrick Keeley. I think that just means the people. The people versus Patrick Keeley robbery. I don't see why like an architect would a successful architect would need to rob anything. So I don't think that was him. So I was looking for more stuff on Patrick Keeley. This one is New York again, 1873. So he's probably like in his 70s somewhere, or late 60s. It does mention Patrick Keeley as an architect. Not much, it's basically the idea is Catholicity in Jersey. One thing I did find, this is in 1886, and at this point, I think he's in his 70s. This is South Carolina, but I think this might, I don't know if that's him or not. But, it says Patrick Keeley is turned informer in connection with the recent troubles in Sligo. He states that himself and 2 others committed the outrage at the Roman Catholic Cathedral on Friday night, and incited the Catholics to revenge against the Protestants. So, I mean, we do know that he's, mentions cathedral, he is Catholic, and, where's Sligo? Anyways, it's, could be him, it's just weird that he's inciting violence against Protestants, but I wouldn't be surprised. He's in his 70s, he's supposedly still working on Roman Catholic designs and architecture. It might have been over there working on something, but yeah, not very much information on Patrick Keeley. And again, they say that Patrick Keeley, Kiely, before he went to it, but still, you're not going to find too much stuff, because I try to find stuff on him. It's hard to do that just digitally. He's kind of an obscure person. I wanted to find some stuff on like Asian temples. I did find at least a triptych in some of them. Right, here's Japanese architecture, and I had one earlier. Here's a Chinese temple in Bali. It's a triptych. Of course, a lot of their other parts of the designs are going to be different, but the columns have been around. But as far as Y3 all the time, in a lot of these, here's another one, a temple, 3 entrances. It's just interesting what the triptych, and again, the symbolism of the triptych, I may get into as far as the, it's almost tough as to even bother. Again, if you just kind of listen and watch to or read Richard Casaro's work, he'll explain his idea of it, and I would say it's not very far off. But I think I may have a different idea of it. There's more 39 greatest constructions of Gothic architecture in the world, and where did I stop on that one? I mean, it's just a lot of just, what more can I say without repeating myself, right? It's just, wow. We're pretty much near the end of it. I mean, I don't want to sound too repetitive, but here's the list of oldest church buildings all around. Again, I think when I look at some of these that are made in the 300s, like, I think I was in Germany a couple years back with my wife and my in-laws and my daughter, and some of their architecture is very Gothic too, and but supposedly a lot of their buildings that are Gothic were way back before the Gothic era, like the 11th, 12th century, or 12th century. And like this one definitely shows the Trier Cathedral of Trier, very Gothic looking. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to find it, we'll find pictures of it, and it's gonna have that triptych. We already looked at the Basilica de San Lorenzo. You got the triptych, and the usual stuff. Anyways, I just want to share that with people. Is just you know, my main question again before I sign off on this one is you know, why just the Catholic Church is the idea of the Gothic architecture, and you know, what was their architecture before their Gothic architecture. I mean, again, if it's like the Roman Catholic Church, it's gonna probably be very Roman-like, and it's gonna have the ideas of the triptych, the rose circle, and the two twin towers. And oh, one of the things I didn't look at is let's say Freemason. What do you call it? Freemason church? I don't think it's a church. Freemason building. Let's look at that. Masonic buildings. Let's see. That one's pretty obvious with the triptych. You know, yeah, I think one of the things he mentions is like there's, you know, they're big on the number 3, right? He explains it there. We definitely see similar architecture ideas. Oh, lodges, that's right. What am I thinking? Let's look at lodges. I want to see more of the outside. Yeah, triptych 3. Of course, that's an easy one, right? But as far as like the buildings, like any semblance to Roman Catholic Church, like why is it so heavily borrowed? I think a long time ago they were pretty much at odds with each other, but not these days. Skull and bones. Let's see, do they have? Let's see, building. Yep, we found it on our own. You know, you got the triptych again. It's so yeah, here you go. Hidden plain view. So the idea of the triptych, there's the one with Arthur Koestler, which is more of a non-physical triptych, but it's still a triptych all the same, which I'm going to go over, which is very interesting, which ties into again George Carlin and Bill Hicks, which I'm going to do a video on. So unless something takes me to a whole nother direction, I'm going to planning on doing those videos with all the videos that I want to do in the past. But you know, I always just go where my thoughts take me. I mean, like I really wanted to do a video on like conscious dreaming, because I don't know what else to call it. There's different terms, but like I've had dreams where I've been in control, and I just thought they're interesting. What could it mean? You know, how do I do it? How did it happen? It's like, I don't know yet. So what's the point of trying to figure that out? All right, so that's it. Stay tuned. Another one I was gonna do was on I want to do some lighthearted stuff, but not quite. I want to do something that's that had to do with some entertainment stuff, like True Detective Season 1, and it's very interesting how all right, so I'll probably do that one soon too. I don't know what's going to come first. I got all the audio, and idea for it. I just haven't pieced it together. Had time to, personal stuff. Dog has to go pee or poop every 2-3 hours, which is killing me. He's been sick, has medication. Hate that dog. First dog I've hated ever. But you know, I'm just dealing with it. Still have to, you know, I think one of the realizations I had is like compassion, you know, at least true compassion. Of course, it's compassion. Whatever it is should be true. It's like caring for something that you hate. It's like you don't want to care for it, you don't want anything to do with it, but I guess that's compassion. You still take care of it, even if you hate it. I don't know. Still, the idea of what if I had my previous videos, you know, good, evil, light, dark, you know, and the swastika, the movement, the dynamic between static forces and all that jazz, you know, I get it. I think with the idea is to be free of control and not control freedom from others, I guess, type of thing, right? So, oh, you can hate your dog, Kathy B. You can hate your dog. When dogs, it's like the dumbest dog in the world. Couple that off with like very fearful, scared dog. Like when we got it from the not the pound, you know, a place that they have dogs. If no one picks them up, they end up killing them, you know. So like it wasn't a problem before. Like our last two dogs, my wife had, when I first met her, she had a boxer, which is from a dog pound. I can't find that right word. Yeah, I'll ship him to you, Kathy B. All right. First, the problems with the dog right now. He had seizures about a month or two ago. We took him to the vet, emergency, because, you know, reading online is like, yeah, you want to take him to the vet. So took him to the vet. You know, it was like at like 2 a.m. Didn't want to wait till like 8 a.m. till they opened. Actually, they might have been. That might have been like on a Saturday night, so they weren't going to be open on Sunday anyways. So we paid us like $500 something that we really couldn't afford to spend. Didn't prescribe him any medication, just some vitamins. The vitamins didn't work. Like a couple days later, he went back to the vet early in the morning. He had his seizures starting late, and we just couldn't afford to take him to, you know, emergency wise, to the vet, so just had to hold off. Was there with him all night. Finally took him to the vet. This time he had meds. Meds made him drowsy, horrible. Had to go pee or poop. He ended up going pee and poop in his bed. You know, he'd whine all the time. It must have hurt him. His quality of life is pretty horrible, I would say. Then we went back to the vet because he was still having some seizures. He got new medications, which is a little bit better, but he still has seizures. And whenever he has seizures, we give him some of the old medication. Anyways, when he's good, he's like before. He's not very playful. At most, he'll just come up to you, and when you'll pet him, he'll stay, and otherwise, he'll just go lay down. He always getting away. He won't, like, the only tricks he could do, or at least I brought it with, is just sit and wait, and that's it. Like, go won't work. Sometimes if you just want to, like, get him outside, he'll just not want to go. He's so scared. Then you get him outside, he goes use the restroom right away. Pees everywhere inside, poops everywhere. Again, it's probably a lot of that has to do with the medication. But yeah, he bit me. He's just scared. Like, he won't want to go anywhere to go pee or poop. And if he does, he'll just do it in like the kitchen, the hallway, wherever. And so if you try to get him to do it, it's like he'll just lie on his back. That's what he always did before. But now he's just been growling if you try to like pick him up or something like that, and he just bit me. It's like, you know, that's when it was like over. That was like 2 weeks ago. And after that, I was like, I hate you. I'm always angry. I give you the most attention. Like, he wasn't even eating. Yeah, he's suffering. I know that. Or drinking at one point, and I pretty much had to make chicken soup. I would go to the store, buy chicken, which I hate. You know, I'm vegetarian. I like to hunt fish for my own stuff. Some beef, basically makes chicken soup. Add some carrots, celery, salt, and potato with the chicken, just so he could have nutrients, food, and like liquids. He got through that, and then again he bit me, so I was like, I'm done with making food for you. So you know, I would have my wife take care of him, and my daughter, you know, fill up the waters. Like, I would just be always the one taking care of him. And like, my wife waking up she'd go to bed around 10. She'd wake up around midnight to give him his medication, because instead of 2 a day, it's 3 a day. And then like her having to wake up every 2 to 3 hours to get him outside or something. She usually sleeps through it, and I'm usually still up anyways. So it didn't make sense for her to take care of him, so I just took care of him again. It's like, so, but more, it's like I'm basically taking care of him, not because I like him, but I hate him, but just so that my wife can get some rest. And she doesn't have to clean up all the mess. What else can I say about that dog? Yeah, I hate that dog. He is probably 4 years old, maybe 5. Like, I think he was in some car accident before the dog pound picked him up. And then I actually had my daughter choose from the pound which dogs to get for my wife. That was going to be her present type of thing, plus my daughter's. But like, she doesn't play with him, pet him that much, interact with him at all. Neither does my son, who's 3. My wife really didn't spend much time with him, pet him on occasions. Like, I would be the one that would spend most of my time with him, and he just doesn't listen. He's just too afraid. And I always give dogs like half-hour to hour petting sessions, like massages. You know, they just love it. Doesn't want to play anything. The only thing he seems to enjoy are walks, and you know, the doggy pets and massages, and good food. Like, if I home cook all his meals, he loves that. But still, he won't listen very at all. You know, I'm still training him. You know, it's like, I was done with him for a while, and it's like, all right, if we're gonna do this, I gotta start training him again. So, you know, he's getting better, but still, you know, he wasn't smart to begin with. He was always scared. You know, you can work on the scared part. You know, it's hard to work on the dumb part. Now you mix that in with medication, and yeah, it definitely has serious things wrong with him. This has been going on for almost maybe 2 months, and I've just keep saying to my wife, it's like, he's not getting any better. His quality of life isn't that good. He doesn't enjoy anything except for walks and being petted and massaged. I would let my pets on the couch. My wife never. So that's unfortunate. Because I wouldn't mind just have him lay down with me. I think that would have helped. You know, sometimes I lay down with him on the ground, but you know, it's not comfortable for either of us. We had him for about 2 or 3 years, Kathy. Anyways, that's why, like, I should be going upstairs to check on him right now. Just to let him outside if he needs to. Before this video, I went upstairs. I had to clean up his dog poop that was in the hallway, and I had to get him outside. And he went number 1. Yeah, but you know, he's probably due for another outing. Otherwise, more cleaning up. Yeah, like it. I know, Kathy. I like my last dog. He had cancer, and he wouldn't eat. I made every food, and he loves to eat. And you know, it took the longest time for us to decide to euthanize him. I mean, I would get him to. I pretty much had to force feed him, and that worked for like a day. And then, you know, next day it's like he ate it and he just threw everything back up. He wouldn't eat or drink. And the thing is, I know when a dog is dying, Kathy, because my last two dogs, when they're dying, you know, basically their I don't know, their organs and stuff would just pretty much die down. They would want to be alone and go off and die, even if it was freezing. Like, they would want to go outside. They'd want to leave and just lay down outside and die. And like, it'd be like 4 to 10 degrees outside. You know, it's freezing here. But I didn't want them to die, so, you know, I didn't want to make that decision. Now, though, I since I hate this dog, I want to euthanize him. You know, and I don't see any good outcomes of his like quality of life. Maybe he, like, if we send him back to the pound, someone will pick him up and he's not afraid of them, and somehow he gets better and he's not dumb. And you know, maybe, I don't know, that, like, at least that person will have him up on a couch, and he's okay with he enjoys that probably the most. It's just he's like a lap dog. It's like, that's the only thing. Okay, so things he enjoys: walks, sitting on your lap on somewhere comfortable, and being petted, massaged. Those are his only joys. Like, doesn't play with any toys, doesn't really play with any other dogs, doesn't really play with the kids, you know. But yeah, he hasn't had any organ shutdown stuff. He doesn't want to die because he doesn't have the same, like, when the other dogs were ready to go, they would just not care about eating or drinking. But and they were very, like, big on, like, eating. But this dog, he doesn't really care about eating and drinking. But he'll eat or drink if it looks good enough, which to me is like, it's not a sign of him wanting to go. So I don't want to force a dog to die as much as I would want to, because I hate the dog. Still, compassion is like, I don't get it. It's like, why do I care? I don't want to care, but I still care. Still got like 5 chicken thighs and 3 beef shoulders, I think. Very lean meat, which I cook them. It's like, oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. Like, I have to look after kids, drive them back from daycare, school, and my wife from work. Can't do anything I want to do, just because I always have to look after everything. Anyways, True Detective, George Carlin, and Bill Hicks triptych from Arthur Kirschner. Tie that in with the triptych of architecture and some paintings, artwork and stuff. Some of the lightweight stuff is just kind of a list of shows that I watch, just their ratings, just talk about them a little, because that'll lead up to a list of books from like childhood and on, because I haven't really read a lot of books since then. But yeah, at least 10 of them that I would want to see them, and I could see them being made into like series on streaming services. So I would want to do that. So just lightweight stuff, because sometimes it's just like, I just want to play video games or something on my time alone. But there's so many things that I want to share, you know, some of it's not important, some of it could be considered important, some of it's just good to know, I guess, and just get something out there to people that, you know, it's like very obscure. You know, it's like you may not have been paying attention to it ever. You know, now it's something you could pay attention to and, you know, investigate yourselves. And I don't know. That's pretty much it. Thanks, Kathy B. All right. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you another night. Just remember, don't just follow me on YouTube, because I don't know how long I'll be able to do stuff on YouTube. But even if my main account and my backup account are gone on YouTube, I'll find a way to do another account, and you'll see like some of my videos pop up on YouTube. You know, that's me. And again, I'll probably put out a video saying YouTube canceled my main account, YouTube canceled my backup account. You can find all my stuff here, and this is my new it will be like my third YouTube account where I post my videos and live streams. So if any of that stuff happens, just know that's where I'll be. All right, thanks and have a good night.